You're wondering if now is the time to buy. I get asked this question all the time as a real estate agent. Is now a good time to buy? Interest rates are going to fluctuate, home prices are going to fluctuate, and timing the market is extremely difficult. All we can do is know what's going on right now in today's market at any given point in time. There is no crystal ball for any of us. None of us can look into the future and know 100% whether interest rates are going to come down, if there's going to be a housing crash, which I don't believe that there are. Data suggests that there isn't. And if you're interested in finding out some additional information as to why now is a good time to buy, let's jump in. I am your host, Tamara Stone, otherwise known as PDX Unicorn or Special Agent Tam. I will respond to any of those things. So I wanted to start with, let's talk about some data points. I have a guide for you today. Let me grab it really fast. So our guide is talking about renting versus buying, which is what we're talking about. The number one thing that I want to talk about is how much it costs to rent a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in today's market is $2,695. That's according to Zillow. So I went on Zillow and checked to see what rents are. And this is what it told me for 3 bedrooms, 2 baths and above. That's kind of a typical family size, you know, like 5 people needing a couple bedrooms, blended families, needing a work from home office space and like another special area for guests to come and stay. And so $2,695 a month. What we want to talk about also is that most people stay in their house somewhere between 2 and 7 years. So I averaged it out by 5. So we're going to talk in terms of renting a place for 5 years versus buying a house and being in it for 5 years. So if you were to rent, whoa, there's a big glare on there. Rent this house for $2,695, 12 months in a year, that's $32,340 for that year that you would spend on rent. Multiply that by 5 and you're paying $161,700 over the course of 5 years towards your landlord, which means you're paying towards that person's wealth at 100% interest. And you have nothing to show for it afterwards. That house isn't yours. That house is still your landlord's. You don't get to take it with you. You don't get to sell it. So you spent $161,700 on rent for 5 years. And maybe you moved a couple times. Maybe you had to do first, last, and security deposit. Maybe when you moved, you didn't get your full security deposit back. And then you had to pony up that money again for the next time. Most people don't stay in their rentals for 5 years either. So if you're moving every 6 months or you're moving every year within the Portland metro area, and you're having to do first, last, and security deposit, and they're telling you, well, you can't have that dog, you can't have any dogs or cats, those sorts of things, and you're needing a bigger place and you want to build your own wealth, this is why now might be a good time to buy. Yes, interest rates are fluctuating. I just talked with my preferred mortgage lender the other day, and he says that it does look like within the next year, interest rates are going to go down. So that means if you bought now at a higher interest rate and you can afford that payment, then in a year or so, when you go to refinance, that payment will be lower. Well, in terms of renting, your rent is not going to lower. In fact, there is something that just passed earlier this year that is telling landlords that they can increase your rent as of January 1 up to 14%. So that $2,695 that you were paying as of January 1 could go up by $377.30 as Jan 1. And that's going to be really important a little bit later, so stick around. In terms of buying, yes, according to RMLS, the average home price, or I should say the median home price in the Portland metro area is $550,000. but we're going to talk in terms of having a $500,000 purchase price on a house. So, because there are houses for 500,000, it's just a little bit easier to talk about in those numbers than it is in the higher ranges. And a lot of people, anything over 500,000 for first-time home buyers is a little crazy. So we're going to say you buy a house at $500,000. On average, it's about $6 per $1,000 that you borrow that you pay in return. So we multiply 500 by 6, which gives you your mortgage payment of $3,000. So 3,000, when you're talking in terms of right now, your rent being $26.95 and this being $3,000, that's $305 difference. But remember, your rent could be increasing $377 as of the beginning of the year. So if you pay $3,000 a month in mortgage, that means $36,000 annually. And over the course of 5 years, you're going to pay $180,000 versus the $161,700. But remember, that could get a little bit closer to this as of January 1. And then every year after that, it's going to get even closer to that because rents are going to more likely increase year over year. And you're taking on those other added costs of first, last, security deposit, those sorts of things, and being told a lot of things about how many cars you can have, how many people you can have over for any length of time, how many pets you can have, all of that stuff. And then when we look at the RMLS data, it tells us that currently the appreciation rate is 8.6%. So year over year, your house is appreciating 8.6%. So after 5 years, your house isn't still, more than likely, if the appreciation rate stays the same, that $500,000 house is not going to be worth $500,000 in 5 years. It's going to be worth $543,000. So that's a $43,000 difference between what you purchased it for, what it's now valued at. And then over those 5 years, you've been making your monthly payments, your mortgage payments. So in 5 years, you're not going to owe $500,000. So you'll be able to sell that house and keep that equity. So you get money in your pocket when you sell that house, as opposed to renting and you have to pay the first, last, and security deposit and have nothing to show for those 5 years worth of rent. So remember, rents are increasing. So even though right now this monthly rent payment is less than what you would be paying in a mortgage, it's probably going to even out here soon, if not in January 1, but even the following year. So things that we talk about what I talk about when I talk to my clients is, it doesn't matter what you're pre-approved for, it does, but don't get me wrong. But if you're pre-approved for $600,000 and you only want to spend $500,000, that's what I care about. I care about this number. I'm going to help you get a house that's closer to the number that you're comfortable with in terms of your mortgage. And then you can talk to your lender. If you need a lender, let me know. I have some really great ones at my disposal that I can hook you up with. And I always tell people to shop. So a couple of things about mortgage lenders. If you're going to a bank or a credit union, they're only going to be able to offer you the programs that they have in-house. If you go to a mortgage broker, who I usually refer people to, they're able to shop your loan to not only those banks, but to all kinds of other industry participants out there to get you the best rate with the best program and the best loan for you. So if you're all gung-ho about going to your credit union or your bank because you think it's going to be easier, sometimes in the long run, it doesn't pay off for you to go the easy route. So I would say shop your lender and know that it is virtually unheard of that anybody gets a mortgage, a 30-year fixed mortgage, and never refinances and never changes their interest rate. A lot of times you're going to find that over time, like this 5 years, you have all of this equity, you want to pull it out and put more money into your house, or maybe you want to pull it out and buy another house, keep 2 houses and build even more wealth, then that's something that you can do. When you're renting, you can't do that. You can't pull any money out of your rental situation and then go buy anything else or borrow against it. at a low interest rate in order to go do some other things. Maybe you decide you kind of want to roll all of your debt into your mortgage. You owe on a car, you owe some credit card payments, things of that nature. You can take the money out of your house and pay those things off and then refinance your house so that it's all rolled into that. Lots of different reasons why it's always better to own a home than it is to rent somebody else's or even an apartment, because the same deal there. You're not going to be able to take any equity out. You're not going to have anything to show for it after the fact. And you're basically just throwing your money away. And that's why we say you're paying 100% interest when you're renting as opposed to when you're owning a house. Again, these are all going to change. They could change tomorrow, but we just work off of these numbers to kind of give you an idea as to thinking about maybe now is a good time. Historically, though, the interest rates are still lower than they have historically been. They're not as low as they were during COVID times. That is true, but houses are just continuing to appreciate. So even though we're seeing a softening of the market and a balancing of the market, and this appreciation rate in some instances is slowly declining, it's still appreciating. So until this becomes a negative number, that's when it's not appreciating anymore. So right now, what we know is that houses are appreciating at about 8.6%. So take all of those facts into consideration when you're considering buying a house, and don't let the naysayers, the crazy news people, or your Uncle Bill or whoever try and talk you out of it. Because ultimately what's going to happen for you, as long as you can continue to make those payments on time, is you're going to build equity over the course of time, and you're going to end up having money in your pocket and something to show for having that house as opposed to renting somebody else's. I hope you enjoyed this information, and if you did and you're interested in getting some more and knowing when I drop new videos, please go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment below if you have any questions. My email, specialagenttam.com, and you can always call or text. That information is down below. I'd love to chit chat with you about any of your questions having to do with real estate, any of this stuff. You can rant, rave, or whatever. I'm happy to talk to those people too who are in disagreement, because I always appreciate having a good little debate, and I hope to hear from you soon. Have a great day.